During a supposedly casual family dinner, the mood shifted when Marcella, my sister-in-law, casually announced, "So I lost my apartment. Guess I'll be crashing with you guys for a while." She flashed a smirk at my husband, Darius, as if they had already discussed this without me. I stared at her, dumbfounded. "Excuse me?" Marcella shrugged nonchalantly. "Don't worry, I'm a great roomie. I'll just take the master bedroom since it's the biggest." My jaw dropped as Darius gave me an apologetic look. "Marcella, we didn't agree to that. You can't just invite yourself into our home." "Oh, come on, sis," she scoffed, her tone already grating. "Where else am I supposed to go? You wouldn't leave your favorite sister out on the streets, would you?" Before I could protest further, Marcella had already started hauling her belongings through the front door, dumping boxes and suitcases haphazardly in our living room. It was like a hostile takeover of my own home. Darius tried to play peacemaker. "Alara, maybe we can let her stay for a little while, just until she gets back on her feet." I shot him an incredulous glare. This was our house, our sanctuary. How could he agree to this unwanted invasion without consulting me first? Marcella caught my expression and laughed. "Relax. Teach. It's not like I'm a slob or anything. I'll clean up after myself." Her eyes danced with amusement as she added, "most of the time." That night, as I lay awake staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the sinking feeling that my peaceful life had just been upended. Little did I know this was only the beginning of a long, treacherous road ahead. True to her word, Marcella wasted no time making herself at home, a little too at home for my liking. Within days, her clothes and personal items were strewn about the house, as if she owned the place. Whenever I tried enforcing basic rules of courtesy, like cleaning up after herself, she'd blow me off with a dismissive, yeah, or an insincere, "Sure, Mom." Darius remained infuriatingly passive, which only emboldened Marcella's entitled behavior. "She's just going through a rough patch," he'd say. "Cut her some slack." One morning, I noticed several $20 bills missing from my wallet. When I confronted Marcella about it, she scoffed. "You're accusing me of stealing? Real classy, Alara." "Then where did the money go?" I pressed, my voice trembling with anger. "Maybe you just misplaced it," Darius chimed in, ever the mediator. "No need to make accusations." I shot him an incredulous look. Was he really taking her side? Marcella simply shrugged and sauntered off, leaving me fuming. Over the following weeks, I noticed more and more money disappearing from our joint accounts and my personal stash. Darius remained oblivious, or perhaps willfully ignorant. Whenever I brought up the missing funds, Marcella would expertly deflect and manipulate the conversation until I felt like the irrational one for even questioning her. "You're always nagging me about something," she snapped one day as I confronted her about another missing 20. "No wonder Darius is so stressed all the time." I opened my mouth to retort, but Darius cut me off. "Enough, you two. I'm sick of being caught in the middle of your constant bickering." Marcella shot me a smug grin, batting her eyes innocently. "Sorry, bro. I'll try to be more considerate of your wife's feelings." Her sickly sweet tone dripped with condescension, and I had to bite my tongue to keep from screaming. This was far from over. The real kicker came when Marcella decided to throw a party at our house, without asking permission, of course. I came home from work one evening to find a group of raucous strangers spilling out onto our front lawn, red Solo cups in hand. "What is going on here?" I demanded as soon as I spotted Marcella holding court amidst the chaos. She barely looked up from her conversation. "Oh, hey sis, just having a few friends over, no big deal." "No big deal? You can't just invite people into our home like this." Marcella rolled her eyes. "Relax, we're just having some fun. You could use to let loose for once." Before I could protest further, a guy I didn't recognize came stumbling out the front door, sloshing beer from his cup. "This party's lit," he slurred, giving me an inappropriate once-over. I recoiled in disgust. "That's it. This needs to end right now. Everyone out." Ignoring my outburst, Marcella shot me a wicked grin. "You know, if you kept acting so uptight, maybe Darius would have left you by now for someone more fun." White-hot fury coursed through me at her cruel insinuation. I opened my mouth to hurl back a blistering retort, but the sound of a loud crash from inside cut me off. My heart plummeted as I rushed through the door to find the cherished antique armchair, one of the few remaining pieces from my late mother's estate, overturned and shattered beyond repair. Tears stung my eyes as I fell to my knees, tenderly gathering the shattered remains. This had been one of Mom's most prized possessions, and these drunken idiots had destroyed it without a second thought. Marcella sauntered in, sizing up the wreckage with a casual shrug. Oh well, it was just an old chair anyway. No need to get so bent out of shape about it. I shot her a venomous glare, my grief quickly hardening into cold fury. Get out, I seethed through clenched teeth. Get your friends out of my house right now before I call the police. For once, Marcella seemed to recognize I wasn't making an empty threat. With a disdainful huff, she started ushering out her rowdy crew, muttering something about me being a stuck-up bitch under her breath. Darius rushed in once the commotion had died down, his eyes widening at the overturned furniture and shattered remnants of the armchair. Alara, what happened? Are you okay? I could only shake my head, my throat too choked with rage and sorrow to speak. This callous disregard for our home, our boundaries, our cherished belongings, it was unforgivable. Darius pulled me into an embrace, and that's when I realized with sinking dread he still didn't fully grasp the extent of his sister's cruelty. But I did, and I knew this was only the beginning. In the aftermath of Marcella's disastrous party, tensions in the house were higher than ever. I could barely look at her without feeling my blood boil. The smug, self-satisfied smirk she constantly wore only added fuel to the fire. One evening, as we were cleaning up after dinner, Marcella casually remarked, Since I'm living here now, I should probably get my name added to the house deed. I froze, the plate in my hand clattering back into the sink. Excuse me? She shrugged nonchalantly. Well, it only makes sense. I'm basically family, right? Might as well make it official. Like hell you are, I exploded, rounding on her. This is our home, Darius and I. You're just a freeloader taking advantage of us. Marcella feigned an expression of wide-eyed innocence. Darius, she's not seriously suggesting I'm a freeloader, is she? You know I'm good for it if you ever need help with the mortgage or anything. I whirled on my husband, desperate for him to take my side for once. But Darius merely averted his gaze, shifting his weight uncomfortably. You can't be serious, I said, shaking my head in disbelief. Tell me you're not actually considering this. Before he could respond, Marcella piped up again with that simpering tone. Of course he's considering it. Why wouldn't he want to do something nice for his beloved little sister? This is our house, I shouted, feeling like I was going insane. Mine and Darius's. You have no claim to it whatsoever. Hey, no need to get so worked up, Marcella said with an infuriating chuckle. I'm just looking out for the best interests of this family. You're not my family. The words exploded from me before I could stop them. An ugly sneer twisted Marcella's features. Oh, I get it. I'm not the rich, precious family you always wanted, is that it? Just the embarrassing deadweight relative you can't wait to be rid of. That's not what I meant at all, I protested weakly, but she was already on a roll. Don't worry, I know where I'm not wanted. Maybe it's for the best if I strike out on my own after all. She shot me a look dripping with venom. Just don't come crawling back when you lose everything you've taken for granted here. With that ominous warning hanging in the air, Marcella stormed off, leaving an unbearable silence in her wake. Darius finally spoke up, his voice weary. Alara, maybe we should consider giving her what she wants, just this once, for the sake of keeping the peace. I stared at him, dumbfounded and utterly deflated. In that moment, I knew. He was never going to take my side over his sister's. The battle lines in this war had been drawn, and I was radio-al territory. After that explosive argument about Marcella trying to get added to the house deed, I felt completely alone and betrayed, even by my own husband. Darius remained frustratingly passive, always making excuses for his sister's outrageous behavior. In my despair, I ended up confiding everything to my best friend and next-door neighbor, Jonah. He listened patiently as I vented, tears of anger and hurt streaming down my face. I just don't know what to do anymore, I said once I'd gotten it all off my chest. She's made it clear she wants to take over our home, and Darius won't lift a finger to stop her. Jonah shook his head grimly. Marcella's got him wrapped around her finger. Always has, from what you've told me. So I'm just supposed to let her walk all over me? Let her take everything I've worked for? A determined look came over Jonah's face, Not a chance in hell. We're going to fight back and expose her for the parasite she truly is. His conviction emboldened me. What did you have in mind? Over the next few days, Jonah and I discreetly set up hidden cameras throughout the house to document Marcella's misdeeds. He also helped me track down financial records and receipts, showing how she'd been steadily siphoning money from our accounts. This is the evidence we need to show Darius her true colors, Jonah said as we reviewed the damning footage. No more being able to gaslight you or play the victim. I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction watching Marcella time and again violating our trust, stealing, breaking things, then nonchalantly lying about it later. This was who she really was under that sweet facade. Finally, I knew it was time to force a confrontation with both her and Darius present. I invited them over for a family meeting, not giving away my true intentions. When they arrived, I could immediately sense Marcella's wariness. She narrowed her eyes suspiciously at Jonah's presence. "What's this all about?" I took a steadying breath. "You wanted proof that you don't belong in this house? Well, here it is." With trembling hands, I queued up the video compilation of her antics, stealing cash, inviting strangers over, the wanton destruction. Her eyes went wide with shock and outrage as it played. "You've been spying on me?" "What the hell, Alara?" "No more lies," I stated firmly. "It's time you both saw the truth about what kind of person you really are." Darius watched in pained silence, his expression unreadable. I could only hope this would finally be the wake-up call he needed to stop enabling her behavior. When it was over, Marcella laughed humorlessly. "Very clever, but it won't work. Darius knows I'd never betray him like that." I braced myself, praying he would finally take a stand. The weight of this moment pressed heavily. The tension in the room was palpable as Marcella stared Darius down, her expression a sickening mix of feigned innocence and subtle challenge. "You know I'd never betray you like that, right, bro?" For a few agonizing moments, Darius didn't respond. He simply watched the damning video evidence with an unreadable expression. I held my breath, clinging to the desperate hope that this would finally make him see his sister for the manipulative leech she truly was. Then, slowly, Darius turned to face Marcella. "How could you do this?" His voice was little more than a hoarse whisper. "To my own wife." Relief washed over me. He was taking my side at last. But Marcella simply scoffed, rolling her eyes dramatically. "Oh, come on. Like you're so innocent in all this. You've been standing by letting your shrill harpy of a wife walk all over me from day one." "Don't you dare talk about her like that." Darius's shout made us all flinch. "Alara is twice the person you'll ever be." For the first time since I'd known her, Marcella looked momentarily shaken, but she quickly recovered with a contemptuous sneer. Yeah, go ahead and take her side as always, like either of you have a clue about real family loyalty." "This has nothing to do with loyalty," I exploded, unable to contain myself any longer. "You've been freeloading off us, stealing from us, disrespecting us in our own home." Marcella whirled on me, her eyes glittering with venom. "Disrespecting you? This coming from the woman who's been treating me like a burden from the second I stepped foot in this place?" "Because that's exactly what you are." The words burst forth, harsher than I intended, but too late to take back. "A selfish, entitled leech who thinks she can just take whatever she wants from us without giving anything in return." A tense silence fell over the room. Marcella opened her mouth, no doubt to spit out a scathing retort, but seemed to think better of it. Her gaze flicked briefly over to where Jonah stood silently observing, his phone gripped in his hand. A look of realization flickered across her face. With an overly dramatic huff, Marcella spun on her heel and stormed out, knocking over a vase on her way that shattered across the floor. Darius made no move to stop her, his shoulders sagging in apparent exhaustion. I'm so sorry, Alara," he murmured, not quite meeting my eyes. "You were right all along. I should have listened and put a stop to this sooner." I wanted to feel vindicated, but the wound of his betrayal still stung too sharply. Before I could form a response, Jonah cleared his throat, holding up his phone with a grim look. "Don't worry, I got her little tantrum on camera, too. Once this inevitably goes public, that'll be the final nail in her reputation's coffin." I could only nod numbly, because no matter how much satisfaction I might feel at having finally exposed Marcella's scheme, nothing could undo the painful truth. She had driven an irreparable wedge between Darius and me. True to Jonah's prediction, within a matter of days, the video exposing Marcella's misdeeds had gone viral online. I wasn't sure if he had leaked it himself, or if one of Marcella's so-called friends had spread it in an act of petty revenge, but the result was the same. Her deplorable behavior was on full display for the whole world to see. I'll admit, there was a perverse sense of satisfaction watching the clip of her unhinged meltdown rack up millions of views, along with a tsunami of scathing comments calling her out as the entitled parasite she was. "The mask finally slipped, huh?" Jonah remarked as we scrolled through the deluge of reactions. "People are seeing her for the real piece of work she is." My satisfaction was short-lived, however, as the backlash steadily intensified over the following days. Protesters began gathering outside our home, denouncing Marcella in the harshest of terms and demanding she face consequences. "This is getting out of hand," Darius said nervously as the raucous crowds showed no sign of letting up. I could only shrug, numb to it all. She brought this on herself. That's when Marcella finally resurfaced, storming back into the house in a whirlwind of fury. "You happy now?" she raged, tears of rage streaking her blotchy face. "You just had to try and humiliate me to the world, didn't you? Like you didn't bring that on yourself?" I shot back, unmoved. "You're the one hell-bent on burning every bridge with your selfish, unforgivable behavior." "Unforgivable?" She let out a bark of deranged laughter. "You want to see unforgivable?" Before I could react, Marcella grabbed the nearest object, a heavy ceramic vase, and flung it straight at me with startling force. I barely had time to flinch before the solid mass struck my temple, unleashing a searing wave of blinding pain and darkness. The next thing I remember was gradually regaining consciousness to see Darius restraining a still hysterical Marcella while Jonah hovered over me, calling an ambulance. Blood trickled warmly down my face from the ragged gash in my head. "Why?" I croaked out in a daze. "Why would you do this?" For a moment, a flicker of anguished regret passed over Marcella's face, but it was quickly snuffed out, her eyes hardening into cold callousness once more. "Because I warned you there would be consequences for trying to take everything away from me," she spat out in a tone of chilling finality. "And this is just the beginning if you don't back off." The ominous vow hung heavy in the air, even as the wail of approaching sirens signaled this sickening conflict was about to be thrust into an even harsher spotlight. As I slipped back into the blissful darkness, one fact became terribly clear. No home was safe with Marcella in it, not for me, or anyone else she deemed an obstacle to be eliminated by any means necessary. In the aftermath of Marcella's violent attack, everything changed. The trust and foundations of our marriage had been shattered beyond repair by her unforgivable actions. As I recovered from my injuries, Darius and I knew we could no longer go on living under the same roof as his unhinged sister, not after the terror and threats she unleashed. We filed a restraining order immediately, but the metaphorical scars cut far deeper. "I'm so sorry, Ilara," Darius said for what felt like the 1,000th time. Regret and shame were etched into the worry lines on his face. I never imagined she could become so monstrous. I said nothing, unable to offer absolution just yet. My mind still replayed those harrowing moments on an endless loop. Marcella's twisted snarl as she hurled that vase, the sickening impact, her vile parting words. Some betrayals cut too deep to simply forgive. The financial and legal fallout was another nightmare altogether. Changing all the deeds, accounts, and updating our wills to permanently excise Marcella. It was a lengthy, draining process designed to fortify every possible vulnerability she could try to exploit. We didn't stop there either. Thanks to Jonah's quick thinking in capturing that fateful confrontation, Marcella's criminal assault was a matter of public record. We leveraged that into investing in state-of-the-art home security. Cameras, alarm systems, the full works. If she ever thought about coming near us again, we'd be ready. By the time we got the all-clear to return home, it was as if a miasma had been lifted. No longer did we have to tiptoe around Marcella's dizzying sense of entitlement. The house was ours again, a sanctuary finally rid of her toxic presence. As a symbol of our reclamation, we held a massive yard sale and unceremoniously sold off every last belonging Marcella had brazenly dragged into our home during her occupation. Darius and I watched with grim satisfaction as her clothes, knickknacks, and cheap furnishings were picked over and hauled away by strangers. I'll never forget the palpable relief I felt as that final decrepit recliner, the last remaining trace of her squatting, was hoisted onto the truck of some lucky bargain hunter. "We made it through the worst of it," Darius murmured, slipping his hand into mine. His grip was warm, reassuring. "Our home is ours again." I gave his fingers a grateful squeeze, finally allowing myself to release the resentment and anger that had festered for so long. Whatever challenges still lay ahead, one thing was certain: that poisonous influence was exorcised from our lives for good. As the moving truck rumbled away with Marcella's sad collection of rejects, I inhaled the crisp spring air deeply. It carried the refreshing scent of new beginnings, of reclaimed happiness just waiting to blossom again. Our home was a sanctuary once more, and this time nothing and no one would ever be allowed to violate that sanctity again.